Alien girl finds out humans don't lay eggs. She can't stop laughing. Her grip tightened around my neck, knuckles digging into the synthetic weave of my worn flight suit. Not enough pressure to crush my windpipe. Not yet, but enough to convey absolute, unquestionable authority. Her eyes, pools of liquid amber glowing faintly in the reflected glare of the magnetic dust storm raging outside the salvaged hull, assessed me like particularly stubborn prey. She was Xylos, a dominant warrior from the ringed moons, all angles and hard iridescent plates that shifted like living armor over lean muscle, and pissed. Apparently, crash-landing my beat-up Stardust Drifter onto her sacred claiming grounds during the high cycle of the magnetic storms wasn't just inconvenient, it was, according to her guttural pronouncements and the humming vibration in her throat nodes, a profound ritual defilement. "You are small," she rumbled, the sound resonating in my skull. Her free hand, digits long and tipped with sharp dark claws, traced the line of my jaw, a feather-light threat. "Your exoskeleton is soft, fails to shift under stress. You are human, yes?" The weak-skinned myths from the outer systems. I managed a wheezing chuckle, the dust making my throat ache. "Yeah, that's me. Jake Riley, crash survivor, connoisseur of bad luck, and my exoskeleton is called Skin Lady. It's supposed to be soft, less, toner wanomatic walsable horde. The here deal called bio vada kane. It's supposed to be soft, kanchaners. The haver bleach say puster dav. Egg for a klesh shield the toms cumber, ixabis train, glycol bak ed crowo, and were chaplis cumbres of lacarums arsh and hervlin albalik. And for eternity at bits. Platy, she tilted her head, her amber gaze sharpening. Soft. A deliberate design? To invite injury? Nah, more for flexibility. And not cracking when you sit down too fast. Another low rumble from her throat, though this one felt. Howls and what curse infuriables. Curious. Flexibility. Interesting. Our males possess only limited flex plates. Primarily for mating displays. You possess this softness universally? Pretty much. Except when we get a sunburn, then it hardens up like a cheap suit. She didn't laugh. Her culture apparently didn't do cheap suits. Or sunburns, probably. You trespass. You defile. My claiming trial is disrupted by your dissent. Her voice was a whip crack now, losing the flicker of curiosity. By the ancient rights of the void heart, you are forfeit. Your life is mine to extinguish, trash creature. Whoa there, hold on a sec, I said, carefully raising my hands slightly. Ritual defilement was not on my itinerary, promise. My navigation system decided to take a dump right over your hallowed sand dunes. Purely accidental. She leaned closer, her scent hitting me, something like ozone and crushed minerals, oddly intoxicating. Accident? There are no accidents in the trials, human. Only fate. The void heart delivers you to me. A challenge. A test of my will. Yeah, a test. By making you deal with a stranded dipshit in a broken spaceship? Sounds like a pretty low bar for a warrior trial, to be honest. That got her. A low guttural sound escaped her. Not quite a laugh, but a definite reaction. Her grip loosened infinitesimally. Insolence, she breathed, but there was a new current under the word. Your tongue is sharp, unlike your skin. Perhaps you are not entirely soft. She released my neck, stepping back. The magnetic sand whipped around her legs, sparkling violently. You will come with me. The storm builds. The claiming grounds are treacherous during the high cycle. If the storm does not kill you, the void heart will claim your essence from the sand. She didn't ask. She commanded. My options were limited. Stay in the disintegrating ship hull and get buried alive or swept away by the magnetic current, or follow the angry plate-skinned alien who seemed to think I was a gift from her god. All right, fine. Lead the way, Plateface. Just try not to kill me before I figure out what the hell is going on here. She turned, her posture radiating annoyance mixed with something that might have been grudging acceptance. My designation is Cathar, she said over the roar of the storm. Do not soil it with your weak tongue sounds. She moved with a predatory grace, heading towards a jagged ridge that seemed to glow faintly under the storm's influence. I scrambled out of the wreck, the magnetic sand clinging to my boots. Great. Just another Tuesday. We huddled in a narrow crevice carved into the glowing rock face. The storm outside was an incandescent fury, dust motes charged with magnetic energy creating crackling static and blinding flashes. Cathar seemed unbothered. her body plates occasionally shifting and humming in response to the energy, absorbing it somehow. I, on the other hand, felt like a human antenna, my hair standing on end, my teeth aching from the static. "This is cozy," I muttered, pulling my thin suit tighter. "Real five-star accommodations you got here, Cathar." She ignored the sarcasm, her amber eyes scanning the swirling dust. "This refuge is a blessed place, carved by the ancients for shelter during the high cycles. It resonates with the Void Heart's strength." "Right, Void Heart. Is that like the shades, the outward toe, the OLED, the ale wine tier, hold 'em at Cheffel Dow the Pobber wine? Your son or a deity? Or just a really big black hole you guys worship?" She finally looked at me, a flicker of genuine irritation crossing her sharp features. "Ignorance. It is the core of our existence. The source of the magnetic currents, the energy of our trials, the resonance that binds the claimed. Do not speak its name without reverence, human." "Okay, okay. Void Heart. Got it. So, this claiming trial I apparently interrupted. What exactly does that entail? Is it like an obstacle course or gladiatorial combat? Because if it's combat, I'm gonna need a weapon and maybe some actual armor. You know, instead of this highly permeable skin." She let out that low rumble again, a sound that vibrated through the rock and into my bones. It wasn't amusement, not exactly, but it wasn't pure aggression either. The trial is a test of worth, of strength, resilience, the ability to command the currents, and ultimately to claim a suitable life mate. She paused, those glowing eyes fixed on me. "The storm is part of it, surviving it, mastering its energies. And you think I'm part of the test? Me? The guy who couldn't even land his ship?" "The Void Heart provides," she stated flatly. "Your arrival during the peak resonance. It is a sign. Perhaps the trial demands a compajako jays. Padoipali aa likus gustulik. Non-standard element." "Non-standard element? Is that Xylos for shit show?" Her gaze was intense. "You lack the necessary bioluminescent markers of a claimed mate. Your skin does not resonate. You possess no throat nodes for humming display. Your form is bizarrely smooth." She reached out, her clawed fingers brushing my arm again. It sent a shiver down my spine, part cold, part something else. "This skin, it does not shift, does not harden except by external force? Like jut, impact, or your sunburn?" Yeah, basically. "It's junda biting? Squishy." I winced at my own word choice. "Squishy. Great. Squishy," she repeated, her voice low, testing the sound. "Odd. How do your kind reproduce? Without hardened display plates? Or shifting bioluminescence for compatibility signals?" We don't own, and don't really have plates or bioluminescence for that. We, just," Crate trailed off, suddenly hyper-aware of the intense dissecting look she was giving me. Explaining human sex to a plate-skinned alien warrior in a magnetic dust storm felt profoundly surreal and awkward. "Well, speak, human. Do not waste the trial's precious moments with your silence." "Right, okay. So we get together, physically, and if we're compatible, biologically, dat anomaly. We it together, malware, biologically. The female grows a new human inside her, like underdot in a pouch, kinda? But inside, for idstofstischuro, I to ivist siwinschulfum saadia stain. 9 cycles, and then, does she gives birth." I tried to keep it clinical, it failed, her head tilted again. "Inside, the female body contains the new life? It does not. Doth emerge? Harden and grow external to the soft skin. Nope, stays inside. Until it's ready." A slow, deliberate rumble started in her throat. Her eyes widened almost imperceptibly. It It does not emerge in a hardened shell? Like a void egg? Oh God. Here it came. No, no eggs, no shells, just comes out, like, thoughty a miniature squishy human. There was silence for a beat, save for the storm. Then the low rumble in her throat escalated. Not into aggression this time, but into something that sounded suspiciously like suppressed. But to Lunny to like something here. Mirth. Canthar leaned back against the glowing rock, a sound escaping her that was unmistakably laughter, albeit a strange, guttural, vibrating kind of laugh. No. Dumb void egg? She repeated, the words punctuated by gasps. It merely emerges? Without a protective casing? Without hardening in the air currents, she put a hand, claws retracted now, over her throat nodes as they hummed and vibrated with her amusement. 9 cycles inside. The bowman? Terrain squishy? This is how the humans reproduce. Yeah, I know. Hilarious, right? I grumbled, feeling suddenly vulnerable and kind of ridiculous. Like my entire species' reproductive method had just been roasted by an alien warrior. Different strokes for different folks, Kinthar. We manage. Manage? She shook her head, the plates on her scalp shimmering. It seems incredibly inefficient, vulnerable, and frankly profoundly absurd. Another wave of vibrating laughter. My sisters will not believe this. The mighty humans who traverse the stars reproduce. Trapicalds. Squishily. And without eggs. She wiped at the corner of her eye slit with a long finger. It wasn't tears, I didn't think, just the physical manifestation of her amusement. We are quite proud of our void eggs, human. They are resilient. They resonate with the magnetic energies. They symbolize the strength of the bond. Yeah, well, our kids don't have to peck their way out of a shell, I retorted, feeling defensive. They just kinda enter the world ready to scream. That set her off again. The crevice filled with her strange, rumbling mirth. It was contagious in its oddity. I found myself smiling despite the dust, the cold and the sheer absurdity of the conversation. All right, laugh it up. We think your whole plate-shifting, throat-humming mating display is pretty weird, you know? Takes all kinds. She finally composed herself, though her throat nodes still vibrated occasionally. Her amber eyes held a new light, not just curiosity, but a strange sort of appreciation? Perhaps? The universe holds many mysteries. That humans reproduce like to humans. Reproduce like a wet sand formation. Like a wet sand formation. Is certainly one. She regarded me for a long moment, the humor fading, replaced by that earlier intensity. But your survival here, in the peak storm, that is not absurd. Your resilience, even with this soft skin, is unexpected. She reached out again, her hand hovering near my chest. The void heart's resonance grows. Feel it? I did. A low thrumming, originating from the rock face, a deep vibration that seemed to sync with my own heartbeat. It wasn't painful, but it was definitely there. It made the air feel thick, charged. Yeah, feeling something. Is this part of the trial? It is the trial itself. The storm is the crucible. The resonance is the test. Only those who can withstand the full force, the full song of the void heart, are worthy to claim or be claimed. Her voice was low, serious now. Many perish. Their life force scattered to the dust. Great, I muttered. So basically, we're waiting to see if the magic rocks kill me or if your god decides I'm trial-worthy. Precisely, she confirmed, as if this was the most normal thing in the galaxy. And if I'm not worthy, you cease to be. Simple, elegant, terrifying. The magnetic resonance intensified. It felt like standing inside a giant, pulsating battery. My skin tingled, my bones vibrated. Beside me, Cathar's body plates began to glow brighter, humming louder. Her eyes burned like twin suns. The peak approaches, she said, her voice now a low, melodic chant that seemed to weave with the rock's vibrations. Hold fast, human. Do not yield. Let the song fill you. Let it test your core. I gripped the cold rock face, trying to breathe through the increasing pressure in my chest. This wasn't just surviving a storm. This was surviving a planet's heartbeat. The resonance was overwhelming. It pressed in on my skull, vibrated deep in my gut. I felt like I was dissolving into the magnetic field. Cathar was a beacon beside me, glowing with an internal light that pulsed in time with the rock's hum. Her chanting intensified, shifting from a melodic drone to sharp percussive bursts. It felt like a command, directed not just at the storm or the rock, but at me. Yield. The thought wasn't mine. It was a presence, a force pushing into my mind, tempting me to just let go, become one with the dust and energy, become void. No, I gasped. The word ripped from my lungs. Not yet. Cathar's head snapped towards me. Her eyes, wide and blazing, seemed to pierce through the static. She hadn't expected resistance to the song. Why fight? Peace awaits. The voice, or feeling, was back, soft but insidious. It showed me flashes, my ship exploding, the cold vacuum of space, the end of struggle, tempting. "Fuck your peace!" I snarled, pushing back with sheer bloody-minded stubbornness. My past flashed too, the faces of people I'd failed, the guilt that clawed at me, the sheer pig-headed refusal to just lie down and die. That was my core, not peace, just defiant survival. Cathar made a sound, a sharp click of mandibles maybe, or a guttural exclamation. It wasn't in her chanting. She reached out, her hand closing, not on my arm but on the side of my head, fingers splayed near my temple. A jolt went through me. Different from the ambient energy. It was focused, intense, a connection. "You resist the song, you fight the peace." Her voice wasn't external now. It was inside my head, projected directly into my consciousness. Telepathy? Great. Another thing they didn't put in the interstellar travel guides. Your mind is chaotic, full of sharp edges and pain. Yet, tavelite just spatial of wajampating sen. Tavelvidixid, teeny ates, yet Tom. Resilient. Her touch was warm now, the pulsing vibration under her skin syncing with the hum in the rock. The mental pressure didn't lessen, but it changed. It felt less like an external force trying to break me, more like a shared experience, a deep dive into both our cores. "Show me." The mental command was soft, but absolute. It bypassed my conscious thought, reaching for the buried trauma, the guilt. Images flickered, the botched job, the innocent lives lost because I wasn't fast enough, smart enough, ruthless enough, the cold emptiness of the void I felt inside sometimes. "This is your core? This? But your par? But your parva? Failure? This self-inflicted wound?" There was no judgment in her mental voice, only intense clinical observation. It was worse than judgment. "It's, would you out part of it," I ground out, managing to speak externally too. "It's why I don't quit. Can't quit. Gotta keep moving." Moving towards what? Absolution? There is none. Her projection was cold logic. Only existence, and claiming existence requires strength. The peak of the resonance hit. The crevice flared with blinding light. The humming was deafening, inside and out. My body felt like it was tearing itself apart. Canthar's grip tightened on my head. Her physical body pressed closer to mine, her living armor radiating heat. "Feel this, human? This is the song's demand. This is the claiming's price. Your core against mine." Her mental presence wasn't just observing anymore. It was asserting, challenging. And under the challenge, a raw, pulsing intensity that had nothing to do with the storm and everything to do with her. Her core felt like molten rock, ancient and powerful, focused on one singular purpose, dominance, not just over the storm or the trial, but over me. And in that moment, facing oblivion and an alien warrior's probing mind, I felt something shift, not just my defiance, but something deeper, a spark answering her fire. The peak of the magnetic resonance broke, leaving behind a humming silence and a profound sense of exhaustion. The air still crackled with residual energy, but the blinding light receded. Canthar slowly withdrew her hand from my head. Her body plates were no longer blazing, but still glowed with a soft internal light. Her breathing was ragged, the sound distinct from the hum in her throat nodes, which had quieted to a low purr. I collapsed back against the rock face, dizzy and spent. My entire nervous system felt raw, exposed. "What the hell? Hey, Dalekman, was that?" I croaked. Her eyes were half-lidded, fixed on my face. The clinical observation was gone, replaced by a complex mix of confusion and something else. The song, at its highest point, you withstood it. Withstood. Felt more like being stretched on a cosmic rack. She didn't laugh this time. Few can face the song's peak and retain their core. Most dissolve, become dust. She pushed herself away from the rock, straightening up. She moved stiffly, as if the energy had taken its toll even on her. "Your core, all moment, to core dolf is core, to night any shoko, to core dolf is monas contradom dico, dolf reach core." It is sharp, painful, but it did not break. She paused, regarding me with that intense amber gaze. "The void heart did not claim you. It accepted your resistance, accepted my defiance." Great. But did that mean I passed the test? Or just signed up for something worse? So, Hario, The trial. Is it over? Did I win? Do I get a prize? She looked away, scanning the now dimmed landscape outside the crevice. The storm was receding, leaving behind strangely patterned drifts of magnetic sand. The trial is complex. Your arrival. Mile zo Averly Boni, minlustamgit zoldfraget voice stable hus, minlustamgit einvan. Your resilience in the face of the song. It complicates the path. My path. She turned back, her expression unreadable. The claiming requires a resonance between cores, a harmony of strength and will. The song facilitates this. She looked down at her hand, the one she'd placed on my head. Her fingers flexed. Your core, but it does not harmonize with mine. It clashes. It grinds. Yeah, well, that's kind of how I operate, I muttered. Abrasive. It's a survival trait. But your resistance, she continued, as if thinking aloud. Your fight against the song, it resonated in a different way. A challenge. A disruption. Her gaze locked onto mine again, and this time the intensity was purely focused on me. The earlier curiosity and amusement were gone, replaced by a fierce, appraising heat. The claiming trial also involves a physical test, a demonstration of dominance and submission, to see if the cores align through proximity, through shared energy. My stomach tightened. Physical test? What kind of physical test? Her throat nodes began to purr again, but the sound felt different now. Lower, more insistent, the most fundamental, the joining of forms, the sharing of vital energy. She took a step closer, her shadow falling over me in the dim light. To see if your sharp core can withstand the force of mine, if your squishy form can accept my strength, if the fight between us can forge something new. She reached out, not tentatively this time, but with purpose. Her clawed hand went to the front of my flight suit, fingers finding the worn zipper. The song has tested your spirit, human. Now we test your flesh, to see if you are worthy of the claiming, or merely dust waiting to be scattered. The purring intensified, vibrating through her hand and into my chest. It wasn't a question, it was a declaration. The temperature in the crevice seemed to spike, and my earlier thought about my stomach tightening, yeah, that was happening in other places too. Against my better judgment, despite the danger and the sheer alienness of it all, the resonance wasn't just in the rock anymore. It was between us, a dangerous, escalating beat. Kanthar's fingers were surprisingly deft on the zipper. She pulled it down slowly, deliberately, her amber eyes never leaving mine. The purr in her throat was a deep, constant vibration now, filling the small crevice. Your skin, she murmured, her voice low and rough. So exposed, so vulnerable. She peeled back the fabric of my suit, exposing my chest. The air, still thick with residual magnetic energy, felt cool against my skin. She reached out, her touch hesitant for the first time, then firmer. Her palms settled flat against my chest, right over my heart. I could feel the warmth radiating from her, the low hum of her nodes transferring directly into my skin. It felt strange, electric, but not entirely unpleasant. Her head tilted slightly, listening. Your core beats rapidly. Is this joy fear? Yeah, maybe a little, I admitted, my voice a bit shaky. This isn't exactly standard procedure for me. Standard procedures are for the weak, she stated, her hand moving, trailing down my sternum, following the curve of my ribs. Her touch was slow, deliberate, exploring. It sent shivers through me. Strength is forged in the unplanned. In the necessary moment, her fingers traced the edge of my belt. This test. It requires full contact? I swallowed hard. Generally. Jackin, yeah. That's usually how that particular process works. Another low rumble of amusement, though it was layered with something darker, more predatory now. Good. The trial demands nothing less. She moved closer, her body pressing against mine. The hard plates of her living armor met my soft skin, a stark contrast in textures. The scent of ozone and minerals was stronger now, mixed with a new subtle sweetness. Pheromones? Shit. This is not a standard claiming. Her mental voice was back, a sharp thought cutting through the rising heat between us. The void heart presented you, an unknown element. Your defiance is unexpected. Your form, Del Maria's the Vigau's Torm. Confusing. Her hand moved lower, reaching for my belt buckle, but the song demands union at its climax. A forging, to see if your sharp core can pierce or be pierced. My breath hitched. This wasn't just physical exploration. This was dominance, a ritual claim. And I was the one being claimed. Her fingers fumbled with the buckle for a moment, unfamiliar with the mechanism before finding the release. The belt loosened. She pushed it aside. Her gaze dropped, taking in the view. A low hiss escaped her, not of pain, but to something else. Interest? Dismay? It is. Dup different, she stated, her voice low and thick. Less, toward Craniac. Side one, janitor raised o milebar and bioluve. Mile our eggs, the back or wisdo rob bebershis, up for shoes cover ronker honors. Prominent than our males during display. Less resonant. Pride warred with confusion in her mental presence. She expected a visual display, some kind of physical response linked to the earlier resonance. My body wasn't following her cultural script. Yeah, well, we don't really display, I managed, trying for nonchalance and utterly failing. We're more functional. Functional, she repeated the word, sounding baffled. Her hand closed around me, her touch surprisingly gentle, yet possessive. No hardened plates, no visible resonance. Only flesh. Her touch became firmer, exploratory. She was assessing, analyzing, not just for pleasure, but for compatibility, for function within the framework of her trial. The purring in her throat deepened, a continuous thrum that seemed to vibrate through her hand and into the core of me. The combination of her alien touch, her intense scrutiny, and the lingering energy of the storm was overwhelming. My body reacted instinctively, independently of my fear or rational thought. Cathar's eyes widened slightly as she felt the change. It responds, she projected, a note of triumph in her mental voice. The squishy form responds to the claiming touch. Unexpected. She leaned closer, her face near mine, her glowing amber eyes locking onto my reaction. The trial continues. Human, she murmured, her physical voice returning, low and husky. Let us see if this function is sufficient for the forging. She lowered herself against me, pressing her body fully along mine. The sharp plates against my skin, the hum of her nodes, the scent, the intense look in her eyes. It was a sensory overload, dangerous, thrilling, and completely alien. The sharp plates of Cathar's living armor pressed into my skin, a strange counterpoint to her surprisingly soft internal tissues. The humming from her throat nodes vibrated against my jaw as she kissed me, not like any kiss I'd ever known. It was demanding, exploratory, her tongue flicking out like a sensory organ, testing the texture and heat of my mouth. Her scent, ozone and minerals, and that unsettling sweetness filled my head. My hands, guided by instinct more than conscious thought, found purchase on the hard, smooth plates of her back. They felt warm, solid, incredibly real. Her touch on me was everything, assessing, dominant, yet with that undercurrent of intense curiosity that seemed to be the core of her reaction to me. She moved against me, guiding my body with an inherent knowledge of pressure and response. Her strength was absolute, capable of pinning me effortlessly, but she used it instead to orchestrate, to demand a reaction. Open your core, human. The mental command was soft now, persuasive, layered over the physical sensations. Let the energy flow between us. Let the forms align. The lingering magnetic energy in the crevice seemed to gather around us, drawn by our proximity, by the escalating intensity of the encounter. It wasn't painful now, but felt like a charge building, a potent field of energy woven with lust and power struggle. Her lips left mine, trailing down my neck, her mandibles clicking softly near my ear. You fight the claiming, she murmured, her voice a low growl. Even now, your core pushes against mine, like grinding sand. Maybe I just don't like being pushed around, I gasped, my body tightening with a mix of resistance and undeniable arousal. Maybe your core needs to adapt. She pulled back slightly, her eyes blazing. Adapt? You command me, the dominant? Her mental voice was sharp, disbelief warring with a flicker of something akin to respect. You defy the necessary rhythm? Her physical voice was equally challenging. The male yields to the dominant in the forging. Maybe not this male, I shot back, pushing up slightly against her. It was a stupid, dangerous move, but the defiance that had gotten me through the song was still there, amplified by the raw tension between us. A low, drawn-out hiss escaped her. It wasn't a sound of pleasure or pain, but of intense conflict. Her grip on me tightened, not crushing, but pinning. Her living armor plates shifted, hardening perceptibly against my skin. Insolence, she breathed, but her pupils were blown wide, fixed on my face. The purring in her throat nodes escalated, the vibration spreading through her entire body, syncing with my own rapidly beating heart. You challenge the forging. Very well. The trial allows for the forceful alignment. She pushed me back against the rock, her weight absolute. Her legs moved, forcing mine apart. The contrast between her rigid armor and her yielding flesh was stark, fascinating. Her touch became more direct, less exploratory, focusing on one singular objective. Her movements were precise, efficient, driven by ritual and biological imperative. It was raw, primal, and terrifyingly intimate. My mind raced. This was happening, here, now, with an alien warrior who thought I was some kind of weird, squishy void egg myth. But my body wasn't racing away. It was meeting her, yielding in part, resisting in part, a complex dance of power and desire born of danger and forced proximity. As she pressed forward, a new sensation bloomed, an internal heat radiating from her, pulsing with the rhythm of her purring nodes and the lingering magnetic energy. It felt like molten light, filling the space between us. The molten light intensified, flowing from Kalthar into me, not physically hot, but intensely energetic, like pure charged emotion or thought. It pooled low in my body, synchronizing with the physical heat building between us. Her purring reached a fever pitch, vibrating against me, against the rock, against the very air. Her mental presence flared, raw and unfiltered. This is the forging. The cores intersect. The defiance sharpens the fusion. It wasn't just physical anymore. It was mental, spiritual, a deep merging of two utterly different beings under the impossible conditions of a dying storm and a ritualistic planet's heartbeat. Her movements became more urgent, more demanding, no longer exploring but claiming. The contrast between her hard-plated exterior and her soft, yielding interior was breathtakingly alien and profoundly erotic. My own resistance, fueled by fear and defiance, paradoxically seemed to heighten the intensity for both of us. It wasn't submission she sought, not entirely. It was a partner worthy of overcoming, a core strong enough to withstand her own. And in the chaotic clash of our disparate energies, something was undeniably being forged. Her fingers tightened on my hips, claws just barely extended, a constant reminder of her power. My hands found their way to her scalp, fingers tangling in the strange, iridescent quills that grew there, pulling her closer. We were a tangle of soft skin, hard plates, and vibrating energy, two different species colliding in a primal act that was far more than just sex. It was a ritual, a battle, a desperate connection born of sheer survival and unexpected resonance. The purring in her throat shifted, becoming a guttural cry that echoed in the crevice. Her eyes, wide and unfocused, stared up at the roof of the rock shelter. The molten light pulsed faster, stronger, reaching a blinding internal crescendo. My own climax hit just moments later, a wave of release that seemed to sync perfectly with the peak of her internal energy discharge. It wasn't just physical pleasure, it felt like a release of tension that had been building for hours, days, my entire life. Like every bit of guilt, fear, and defiance had been channeled into this single, explosive moment. And as the last wave subsided, a new sensation washed over me. A sharp, biting warmth on my shoulder. I gasped, my head snapping up. Cathar was poised above me, her teeth bared, a drop of my blood welling where she had bitten my skin. Not a vicious tear, but a deliberate, controlled mark. Her eyes were clear again, but filled with a fierce, possessive light. Marked, she breathed, the word vibrating with deep satisfaction. Claimed. By the song, by the forging. Your core is mine now, human. Bound to mine. She licked the drop of blood from my shoulder, her tongue rough against my skin. You are mine. The intensity of the claiming mark slowly faded, leaving behind a dull ache and a profound sense of disorientation. Cathar lifted herself from me, her body still radiating heat. Her plates were no longer glowing, but her amber eyes were fixed on the bite mark on my shoulder with an unsettling possessiveness. It will scar, she stated, touching the wound lightly with a fingertip. A permanent mark, a symbol of the forging, of your belonging. Belonging? My mind, still reeling from the combination of primal sex and telepathic energy transfer, struggled to process the concept. Belonging. Cathar, hold on. That wasn't a contract. That was. I searched for the right word. Necessary? Necessary, she agreed, her gaze unwavering. Necessary for the trial. Necessary for the song. And now, necessary for survival. Survival? My voice was hoarse. What are you talking about? She glanced towards the entrance of the crevice. The magnetic storm had completely subsided. The desert stretched out, silent and alien under the pale light of the system's weak sun. But movement caught her eye. Distant shapes, glinting metal against the sand. The others approach, she said, her voice hard. The patriarchs. And their enforcers. They will have felt the peak of the song. They will know a claiming occurred. The patriarchs, I asked, are those the villains you mentioned earlier? They are the elders. They dictate the trials. They ensure the purity of the lines. Her lip curled, revealing sharp black teeth. They do not approve of disruption, of unexpected claimings. And they won't approve of me, I finished, the realization dawning on me with sickening clarity. A non-plated, non-humming, non-egg-laying human outsider just got ritually marked by one of their dominant warriors. Yeah, that wasn't going to go over well. Precisely, she confirmed. They will see you as an abomination, a defilement of the ritual. They will seek to nullify the claiming to cleanse the grounds. Cleanse. Does that mean? Kill me? It means your core will be scattered to the dust permanently, she said flatly, and my claim will be challenged. My worth questioned. She stood up fully, moving with renewed purpose. She zipped my flight suit back up, her movements brisk and efficient now, the earlier exploratory touch replaced by a pragmatic urgency. They will not understand the song's choice. They will not accept the forging. Your squishy form confuses their rigid laws. A low chuckle rumbled in her throat, devoid of humor this time, filled with grim determination. They were not present for your absurd explanation of human reproduction. Perhaps that knowledge would render their judgment complex. I pushed myself up, wincing at the ache in my shoulder. So what's the plan? Do we hide? Do we run? She turned, facing the approaching figures. Her body plates shifted and hardened again, adopting a defensive posture. We do not hide, she stated, her voice ringing with authority. We stand. This is my claiming ground. My trial. My claim. She looked at me, her amber eyes burning with a dangerous light. You are mine now, human, marked by the song. To challenge my claim is to challenge me, and I do not yield. A predatory smile stretched her lips, revealing those sharp teeth. They wish to see strength? To see if my chosen mate is worthy? We will show them forging. The ache in my shoulder intensified. My core, still vibrating with the residual energy of our union, felt less like grinding sand and more like tempered steel. Shit, this was going to be a hell of a first date. The figures resolved into armored Xylos warriors, their plates gleaming under the weak sun, led by several older, bulkier Xylos whose forms seemed more static, less fluid than Kanthar's. Patriarchs. Their gazes, when they fell upon Kanthar and then on me, were cold and condemning. Kanthar stood her ground, radiating challenge. I stood beside her, feeling exposed and utterly ridiculous, a squishy human facing down a council of alien elders who looked like they wanted to dissect me. One of the patriarchs, his voice a deep grating sound, spoke first. Kanthar, you violated the sacred cycle. You initiated the song outside the approved parameters. And you stand with this? He gestured towards me with a clawed hand, his disgust palpable. A trespasser. An abomination. Kathar's chin lifted. He is not a trespasser. He is claimed, by the song itself. He withstood the peak resonance. His core forged with mine. Forged? Another patriarch scoffed, the sound like grinding rocks. With this, soft one, there is no resonance in his form, no sign of the claiming glow. He narrowed his eyes at me. Where is the mark of the dominant, the bond scar? Cathar moved, exposing my shoulder just enough to show the angry red bite mark. The patriarchs leaned in, their glowing eyes scrutinizing it. Murmurs rippled through the gathered enforcers. A bite? The first patriarch growled, clearly unimpressed. A primitive assertion of dominance. Not the sacred bond mark. It is my mark, Kanthar stated, her voice ringing with conviction, infused with the song's energy. It resonated with his core. She looked at me then, a challenge in her eyes. Tell them, claimed. Tell them how the song accepted your defiance. Tell them of the forging. My turn. My throat was dry. My heart hammered against my ribs. These guys weren't just priests. They looked like they could snap me in half without thinking about it. But Komthar was watching me, a silent demand in her posture. She had claimed me. Now I had to stand for that claim. Yeah, I started, my voice a little shaky but gaining strength as I went. The song. It hit me hard. Tried to make me give up. Dissolve or whatever, but my core doesn't break that easily. It's stubborn. I met the gaze of the main patriarch. It fought back, and Tumper choose. A blowout pose. Does she felt that? Cathar felt that fight. And yeah, we tested that, yes, that hand. Are you called one all people gaff? We forged in the crevice. During the peak, it wasn't pretty, probably didn't follow any of your rule books, but it happened. She claimed me, and I'm standing here. Silence. The patriarch stared. The enforcers shifted uneasily. You admit to the forbidden union? The second patriarch said slowly, as if he couldn't comprehend it. A dominant and a squishy? My earlier awkward explanation of human reproduction flashed in my mind. Cathar's laughter now seemed like a terrible time to bring it up again. Hey, watch it with the squishy, I said, a touch of my usual sarcasm returning. We're built for different things. Doesn't make us less. The first patriarch stepped forward, his aura of dominance overwhelming. This abomination must be cleansed. The claiming nullified. His hand reached for a weapon at his hip. Cathar moved like lightning, placing herself squarely between me and the patriarch. Her living armor flared with a defensive light. He is under my protection, she declared, her voice resonating with power. He is my claim. To harm him is to challenge my authority, my strength. Are you prepared to face the wrath of a dominant blessed by the song? The tension was thick enough to cut with a plasma torch. Cathar faced the patriarchs, her body language a clear come at me. The patriarchs, ancient and rigid in their beliefs, hesitated. Challenging a dominant, especially one who claimed the song's blessing, was a grave matter. It meant open conflict, a break in the established order. The first patriarch's hand remained on his weapon, but he didn't draw it. His glowing eyes bored into Kuntar, then flicked to me, a calculating look replacing some of the disgust. The song does not choose the unworthy, he conceded, his voice grudging. If this human, truly withstood its peak, if his core somehow resonated with yours despite his form. He paused, the gears clearly grinding in his ancient mind. There must be proof beyond your word, beyond this fun's mark. Proof, Cathar echoed, her stance unwavering. His survival of the song was proof enough. Not sufficient for the nullification of a sacred ritual, the patriarch countered. A unique circumstance requires a unique verification. He must face a test. A challenge sanctioned by the elders. He looked me up and down, his gaze lingering on my exposed skin. The lack of plates. A slow, cruel smile spread across his face. The trial of vulnerability. My gut twisted. That sounded unpleasant. Vulnerability? I asked, looking from the patriarch to Cathar. What's involved in that? The patriarch chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. He will be exposed, without armor, without shelter from the currents, without your direct protection. His soft form will be tested against the raw energy of the claiming grounds during a resonant pulse. If his core is truly strong, if it truly forged with yours, it will withstand. If not, yet he dissolves. And your claim is invalid. There was a death sentence disguised as a test. They expected me to melt, proving Cathar had either lied or been deceived. No, Cathar said immediately, her voice sharp. That test is for the weak-cored who seek to partner a dominant. He has already faced the song's peak. He is already marked, yet his form is untested against the currents without shielded proximity, the patriarch insisted, gesturing to my flight suit. He is hidden, protected. We must see if his core sustains him when his flesh is laid bare to the energies he claims to have mastered. He wasn't just testing my core, he was testing Cathar's judgment, her defiance, her strength as a dominant by forcing her claimed mate into a potentially fatal trial designed for species far more resilient than humans. Cathar's gaze met mine. Her amber eyes were filled with a fierce protectiveness, a silent question. Was I willing to risk it, to prove her claim? To potentially die face down in the magnetic sand just to validate this insane accidental bond? My shoulder ached. My body was still humming with residual energy. But something else was there too. That stubborn, defiant core Cathar had felt. I wasn't going to back down now. Not after all this. Not after facing the song and coming out the other side. And definitely not after she'd claimed me, absurdly, wonderfully, confusingly claimed me. All right, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness of my voice. I'll do it. The trial of vulnerability. Let's see if this squishy can handle your damn currents. A flicker of surprise crossed Cathar's face, quickly replaced by a look of fierce pride. The patriarchs looked stunned for a moment, clearly expecting me to cower. Very well, the main patriarch said, regaining his composure, his smile returning. Prepare the human. The currents will reach peak resonance again with the falling of the shadow moon. It would be soon, very soon. And I'd be standing out there, naked in a magnetic desert, betting my life on an alien warrior's claim and my own pig-headed refusal to die. This was either the stupidest thing I'd ever done or the start of something monumentally insane. Either way, it beat just rusting away in orbit. They stripped me of my flight suit, leaving me in nothing but my battered underclothes. The air was surprisingly cold now that the storm was gone, the magnetic currents merely a subtle hum beneath the surface. Cathar stood nearby, watching the patriarchs and enforcers prepare a small, marked-off area of sand. Her expression was grim, her throat nodes vibrating with suppressed emotion. You do not have to do this, human, she said, her voice low. My claim can stand. Eventually. Even against their judgment. Yeah, but their judgment involves scattering my core, I said, trying for a light tone that didn't quite land. Besides, you claimed me, right? Gotta prove you weren't wrong. I met her gaze. Your core is sharp, Cathar. Mine's just stubborn. Maybe together. We're going. Tempered steel. Let's find out. A flicker of something deep and intense crossed her eyes. Pride? Affection? It was hard to read. Tempered steel, she echoed, the phrase sounding both alien and strangely fitting in her mouth. Be strong, claimed. Do not yield to the currents. Let your core resonate with the claiming mark. She reached out, her fingers brushing the bite mark on my shoulder. The ache pulsed under her touch. I will stand guard. If they attempt, nullification before the test concludes. Could they face me? The patriarch signaled. Time, I walked to the designated area, my bare feet sinking slightly into the magnetic sand. It felt cool, granular, vibrating faintly. I stood in the center, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. The patriarchs formed a semicircle, observing. Cathar stood opposite them, her hand on the weapon sheathed at her hip. The shadow moon, a small dark orb, began to transit the system's weak sun, casting an eerie penumbra over the landscape. As the shadow deepened, the hum beneath the sand grew louder. Stronger. The air began to crackle with energy again, though less violently than during the storm peak. It felt like the ground itself was awakening. My skin began to tingle, then ache. It wasn't just static. It was the raw magnetic current, seeking entry, seeking something to resonate with. Cathar had said my form was untested without shielded proximity, without her pressed against me, sharing her energy. Now it was just me. The patriarchs watched, impassive. They expected me to fall, to dissolve into glittering dust. I closed my eyes, focusing on the hum. It felt like the song again, but different, unfiltered, demanding. It tried to pull at me, to unravel my structure, to claim my energy for the planet. I gritted my teeth, pushing back with sheer willpower. My core is sharp. My core is stubborn. I repeated the words like a mantra. I focused on the bite mark on my shoulder, trying to feel the connection, the energy Cathar had infused into it. It pulsed, a counter-rhythm to the planet's hum. It felt like an anchor, tying me not to the sand, but to her. The energy built. My muscles spasmed. My vision swam. It felt like every cell in my body was being individually attacked. But I didn't fall. I swayed. I gasped. I fought the urge to scream, but I remained standing. The bond mark on my shoulder seemed to glow faintly under my skin, a burning focus point for my resistance. The connection to Cathar, felt faintly across the distance, was real. It was sustaining me. It wasn't just my stubbornness, it was our combined defiance, our unexpected forging in the crevice resonating against the planet's ancient, unyielding will. The peak of the resonance during the shadow moon's transit lasted only a few moments, but it felt like an eternity. When it subsided, I was still standing, shaking uncontrollably, but upright. My skin burned, every nerve ending screaming, but I was intact. The patriarchs stared, their impassive faces showing flickers of shock. The enforcers whispered amongst themselves. The main patriarch stepped forward, his gaze sweeping over me, then settling on Kenthar. His frown deepened. "He stands," he stated, stating the obvious, his voice flat. "The soft one endures the currents. His core is strong," Cathar said, her voice firm, though I saw the tension drain from her shoulders. The song accepted him. "The forging is true." The patriarch hesitated, his rigid belief system clashing with the undeniable reality standing before him. A human, the squishy outsider, had withstood a test designed to dismantle weaker Xylos. It defied their laws, their understanding of the claiming. Finally, he let out a slow breath, a sound of reluctant acceptance. "The song is sovereign," he conceded, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. "Its choices, however, unconventional, which cannot be denied by the elders. The claiming stands." He looked at me again, a grudging respect replacing the contempt. "You are," claimed, "human, by Canestar dominant, and by the will of the song." He turned, signaling his enforcers, "Return to the city. The trials proceed as dictated by the song's resonance. Cathar, you will attend the assembly, with your claimed." Cathar nodded, her gaze fixed on the patriarchs as they began to move away. Once they were a safe distance, she hurried towards me, her usual predatory stride softened by urgency. She knelt beside me as I sank to the sand, weak-kneed and shivering. "Claimed," she murmured, her hand gently touching my shoulder mark. "You did it, human. You defied their expectations. You validated the forging. Just proving a point," I managed, a weak smile on my face. "Don't call me squishy." A low rumble started in her throat, quieter this time, softer. It wasn't the demanding purr of dominance or the vibrating sound of laughter. It was something new, something warm. "Squishy," she repeated, but the word sounded like an endearment now. "My stubborn squishy," claimed. She helped me stand, her strength a welcome support. As she wrapped my flight suit around me, she paused, looking at me with that intense amber gaze. "They will not challenge the claim directly, not now. But the city, it is not the desolate grounds. There are other challenges, other expectations." "Yeah? What kind?" I asked, pulling the suit on, feeling marginally less vulnerable. She hesitated, then spoke, a hint of vulnerability in her own voice for the first time. "My claiming trial was not yet complete. I had not yet selected a mate before the song." Interrupted. "Now, you are my mate, chosen by fate, validated by the song, by our forging." She took my hand, her clawed fingers surprisingly gentle. "The assembly awaits. My sisters, the other dominants. They will be curious, and they will judge." She looked at me, her core, which had felt like molten rock, now projecting a complex mix of pride, anxiety, and a startling depth of connection. "Are you ready, Jake Riley, to face them?" As my claimed, I looked back at the receding patriarchs, then at the scar on my shoulder, then at the fierce, beautiful, utterly alien woman holding my hand. Ready? Hell no. But I'd faced a magnetic storm, an alien warrior's mind probe, a ritual forging, and a potentially fatal vulnerability test. Compared to that, facing her family seemed almost, but manageable. "Ready as I'll ever be, Kenthar," I said, squeezing her hand. "Lead the way, Plateface. Let's show 'em tempered steel."